My name is Pascal. I'm a Christian. I know that Islam and Christianity agree with each other 98%. They differ only with regard to the person of the Lord Jesus Christ. If such is the case, I would like to know what made our brother Yusuf to embrace Islam, living Christianity. I'm very keen to know about this fact.
That's a good one. Actually, this is a question we get a lot. Why did you leave Jesus? Why did you turn your back on the Bible? Why have you run away from God? Why have you gone to the terrorists? How come you're with those guys? I heard this many times. Many times. Or the simple question, why'd you go to Islam? Or how you got to Islam. That comes even from the Muslims. The reality of it, in my particular case, and I'm not telling you about anybody else, I'll just tell you about myself, I was not looking for a new religion. I was very much committed to preaching Christianity. I loved Jesus. I loved him an awful lot. When I got to Islam, I found out how to love him even more, because now I know what I'm supposed to say when I say his name. Jesus alayhi salam, peace be upon him. I also didn't turn my back on the Bible. I spent the next 2.5 years sitting with the Bible in Greek, Hebrew, and English in front of me, Quran on the other side, only English in the beginning, later learning the Arabic and comparing and comparing and comparing, until finally one day, one of the imams, spiritual leaders for Muslims, he came to me and he said, Sheikh, you are spending all your time with the Bible and comparing and going over everything. Do you know if you spent this much time studying the tafsir of Quran, you'd be an alim? I said, I didn't think of that. But I did spend a few more years just polishing off my work so I could be sure. And I tell you, without any doubt, and if you want the proof, just let me know. We'll bring it to you by the stack. But if you don't want the proof, don't ask. The proof is clear from the Jewish scholars in all of their publications, and I can name you many, many books from them. And now from the Christian scholars, the same, stating unequivocally that they no longer have even a copy. Now watch this. This is the latest one. It came out last month. Misquoting Jesus. Came out in November, well, month before last. Came out in November. He said we do not have even a copy of 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 anything original from the Bible. This was Bart Ehrman. And he is one of the biggest scholars for the Christian religion. Used to be in the Moody Bible Institute in Chicago. And he used to say, just like me, Bible is the absolute word of God, it has no mistake, it's this, it's that, until you examine the real manuscripts and learn what it's really about, and then you go, whoops, somebody been lying to me. But then, when you go to the Quran in the Arabic language, the authentic book that's still never been changed in 1,400 years, and read it in Arabic language and understand the meaning of it, and you say, Allahu Akbar. Because why? Because when I got through with all of this study, by the way, I had to be reintroduced to my wife and my children. They hardly knew me anymore because I spent all this time. But when I got through, I can honestly and tell you, every single one, Christian, Jew, and Muslim here today, there is no difference in the teachings of these three great religions. There is nothing contradictory in the Bible and the Quran except where the Bible contradicts itself. What I'm telling you is, I wanted to be closer to Jesus. I wanted to be closer to God. I wanted to be closer to salvation, and that was my prayer day after day after day. And why was Allah guiding me to meet a Muslim? I thought God wanted me to convert him, and I tried my best until he said these key words. I want you to go to the website and read all of this because it's far too much to tell you tonight. Go to yusufestes.com. You'll find the whole story. YUSUFESTES.com. Go see the whole story, but I'll tell you what he said. He said, after I give him 3 months worth of Christian dawah, He said, I will go to your religion if it's better than my religion. I'm going, hey, I got him. Why? Well, I now knew about Islam a little bit. Christianity, you don't have to pray 5 times a day. You don't have to fast the month of Ramadan. You don't have to pray something called zakah. You don't have to go to the Holy Land to do any pilgrimage. In fact, you don't even have to be nice if you don't want to. Just say, Jesus died for my sins. But then he said the rest of the sentence. I'll go to your religion if it's better than my religion, but you need proof. I said, what? Proof? Proof? Man, religion's not about proof. Religion's about faith. He said, yes, in Islam, we have faith, but we have proof to back it up. Think about that. And then, without realizing what my own mouth was saying, I said, do you mean to sit there and tell me as a Muslim that you can prove there's God? Immediately he responded back, do you mean to sit there and tell me as a Christian preacher you can't? Oops. I highly advise anybody who really wants to know the truth to stop worrying about television, newspapers, magazines, and statements from weird people, regardless of what they claim their religion is. Just go read the Quran for yourself. See what it says. And then you pray to the one that created you and ask him. And if you're a Christian, ask. Ask the God that Jesus prayed to. Ask him to guide you to be closer to Jesus like I did, and see what happens.
A former female priest who spent more than 2 decades in the Episcopal Church is now speaking out after being defrocked because she embraced another faith. Today, Ann Holmes Redding calls herself both a Christian and a Muslim, but her move to Islam came at a very high price. Dan Harris reports on this woman's test of faith.
Ann Holmes Redding was an Episcopal priest for 25 years until a radical test of faith. Several years ago, while she was mourning the death of her mother, she was trying out an Islamic meditation technique that she learned in an interfaith class. And that, she says, is when it happened.
It came with such clarity and such power that I could understand it as nothing else but an invitation from God.
In fact, she says it was Jesus himself who led her to Islam.
You think Jesus led you to become a Muslim?
Yes. Yes.
You're laughing.
Because I know it doesn't make sense to people.
Now, Redding not only prays in church, but she also prays 5 times a day to Allah.
In Islam, Jesus is viewed as a prophet.
Yes.
Not as the Son of God.
Yes, you're right.
So yours is a radical rethink of the Christian scriptures, a rethink that a lot of people would call heretical.
Yes, and do. Loudly.
This spring, the Episcopal Church revoked Redding's right to be a priest.
Being defrocked, I would imagine, was a pretty traumatic experience.
Yes. That's an understatement. To imagine not being involved intimately in the lives of believing people, helping them understand their relationship and calling, baptizing babies.
It's a big loss.
It's a huge loss.
Redding admits she still struggles to explain her transformation, even to herself.
I am the one who's going to have to answer for this. I'm the one who's going to have to answer for what I've done with my life.
And do you feel confident about that moment?
It's in the best of hands.
Dan Harris, ABC News, New York.
It's the world's fastest growing religion, Islam. The Chicago area alone, home to an estimated 400,000 Muslim faithful. Tonight, why some people are making the switch to a religion many Americans have trouble understanding. Mark Saxenmeyer has our special report.
The This is the story of 3 Chicagoans, all raised as Christians, all who decided to ultimately reject that religion.
Internet is down.
Nadira Rodriguez Muhammad grew up Catholic, but found herself constantly questioning the long-held beliefs of her family.
I always felt that something was missing for me.
Ian Bushner is a law student at the University of Chicago.
I felt like that there wasn't a God.
Whitney Nichols is a new Loyola grad who grew up in suburban Streamwood.
I guess what I was really looking for was what felt most natural and most logical to me.
When Nadira entered high school in the mid-1990s, she became friends with a group of Muslim girls.
They just had this level of contentment and a sisterhood that was, I wanted to be a part of that.
Ian drifted towards the Muslim students at his high school as well.
I remember defending some of my friends at school from accusations, after 9/11. And then I started reading the Quran. I said, oh, here is a form of God that I've never been presented before.
After September 11, the interest actually increased.
Dr. Assad Basul is professor at Chicago's Islamic American College. He says the tragedy 6 years ago initially prompted angry questions, but eventually many of the curious found answers to their own spiritual questions through Islam and converted.
Sometimes, negative things bring positive things.
In fact, according to a first-ever random sampling of American Muslims by the Pew Research Center, 21% of the nation's 2.4 million Muslims are converts to the faith.
Eventually, I realized that I was looking to the Quran for advice, for direction. And at the point that you believe that the Quran is revelation from God, then you're a Muslim.
The conversion has meant many changes in their lives. Ian prays 5 times a day.
You'll finish a prayer and realize, I've just screwed something up. I've done something mean to somebody. Let me go back and correct that.
Nadira wears the scarf, or hijab as it's called.
It is part of my character, modesty. It's just part of who I am.
I don't know if I'll ever be ready to wear the hijab. I've become more modest. I won't wear tank tops and I won't wear shorts.
Whitney says she has had to constantly defend her new religion.
My father asked me right after I converted, why do you want to be associated with these terrorists? And I'm like, this is what you see? Oh no. And we kind of have to deal with the backlash of those who have chosen to do something so horrible.
But all say there is no going back.
At some age, everyone must decide what they believe and live their life accordingly.
I'm Mexican, I'm a female, and I chose this for myself.
If you have a personal, relationship with God, whatever that may be, however that may be, then you're in a good place.
Mark Sextonmeyer, Fox News, Chicago.
When you think California girl, you probably think of someone like Angela Collins, a blonde with surfer girl looks. Angela grew up Catholic, but she left the church and converted, and today, Angela Collins is Muslim. She spoke with Jim Moret about her life and the choice she made.
When you look at this photo of Angela Collins, she looks like the all-American girl with blonde hair and gorgeous blue eyes. But that was the old Angela. Now you wouldn't recognize her. Today, Angela never shows her blonde hair in public. In fact, she never goes out without being covered up, because Angela is a recent convert to Islam. She is now a Muslim.
I'm like the girl next door.
Angela is the girl next door. She was a typical California girl growing up in Mission Viejo, California, right in the heart of the OC. That's right, the area made popular by the shows The OC and MTV's Laguna Beach, starring Kristen Cavallari. These are family photos of Angela growing up in a traditional Catholic family. So why would she ever give up everything she knew to follow the teachings of Islam and work running a school for Muslim children?
What do you want people to know about why you converted?
I was seeking truth, and I found it in my religion.
And Angela isn't alone in converting to Islam. In fact, an estimated 20,000 Americans each year become Muslims and join mosques. But life in the U.S. for Muslims hasn't been easy since September 11th.
Yeah, people do react differently to me.
And in a strange twist of events, Angela became a Muslim just weeks after 9/11.
What was the experience like for you?
Well, it was a poor timing on my part.
And how did her family react when Angela told them?
What was your reaction?
Well, actually, I wasn't all that surprised. I was also kind of proud of my daughter because she proved to be an independent thinker.
So looking at Angela today versus the Angela that you grew up with, do you see her as being happier today?
Yes. Yes, I do.
So you see this as a positive change?
Absolutely.